Welcome back. An elementary school teacher who police say was shot by a 6-year-old student is improving and now in stable condition. Police in Newport News, Virginia say the teacher, identified as Abby Zwerner, and the student were involved in an altercation. And that's when they say the 6-year-old who had the gun fired one shot, hitting her. Officials add that this was not an accidental shooting. Rich Neck Elementary School will now be closed tomorrow and Tuesday in the wake of the incident, according to the school's principal. Joining us right now is Jody Baumstein. She is a licensed therapist at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. So good to see you. I mean, the mayor of Newport News says the community is grappling. They're having a hard time with this one. I mean, who isn't? You don't have to be in Newport News to be trying to, really haunted by this and trying to figure out what went wrong, how could this have happened? So what do we say to our young people who are asking, who are fearful about going to their schools because something like this could be happening where they go to school?
Right. What do you say?
What do we say?
I think it's important to recognize there isn't a magic fix. We want there to be this perfect answer, and it doesn't exist. But we do need to be honest with them. We need to be real with them. If there's any possibility that your kid has been exposed, we want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And, you're talking about fear. Fear is a natural response to this. It's really scary.
Yeah.
So what we want to make sure we're doing is letting them know that's normal and expected, and there's nothing wrong with them for feeling that
and
way.
as a parent, you're always trying to shield your children from all the bad things out there. And so at the age of 6, the last kind of conversation you want to have with your 6-year-old, your kid who's going to first grade is, what do you do? Or, or your fears about a gun showing up in school. But now you have to have that conversation because here's the latest example. Is that your feeling that you initiate the conversation with your kid who may be as young as 5 or 6 years old, or do you wait until they come to you with their curiosity about what just happened?
Well, if they've been exposed in some way, we don't want to wait because kids don't always have the language to be able to tell us. In fact, most of the times they don't. So what are they going to do?
Yeah.
They're going to show us. And it's really easy to get confused about behavior. So your child isn't listening to you. This happens all the time. What do we say? You're being difficult, you're being defiant, why are you giving me a hard time? So often when we've experienced a trauma, what's happening is the brain is replaying. And there are these intrusive thoughts that are flooding the brain. So your child might not even be hearing you. It's not that they're distracted because they don't want to do what you're saying. They might be distracted because they're thinking about something that they're trying really hard to avoid.
Wow, it's their instinct to kind of protect themselves, perhaps. Yeah. So one student in Newport News, Virginia, actually described the trauma she experienced during and after the shooting, and she told CNN, and I'm going to quote her now, "I was scared. It was my first lockdown, and I didn't know what to do, so I just hid under my desk like everybody else was." And later she revealed that she had trouble sleeping, saying she was worried the shooter, still had the gun and he was going to come to my house. "I had flashbacks." That's an additional quote. So what are some of the common responses of trauma? When do you know? Just like you were, describing, but when do you know that this is trauma playing out right now?
Right. Well, it's going to look really different for every kid. So you will hear some of that. So the nightmares, they're playing it back. It's coming up in a lot of different ways. Avoidance is another one, which is really confusing. Sometimes we don't notice it. But I might be avoiding certain things that remind me of it. I might be avoiding talking about it. I might be avoiding people or places or activities I used to love. So that one can be easily misunderstood, I would say. And then the other thing is this hyperarousal, this edginess. It can look different, again, but we might just be on edge, irritable, lashing out, very tearful. And what's really important is there are other things that we often don't think of with trauma. So, for instance, a child might be doing fine, but they're really busy. They're overly productive. They become this busy bee, if you will.
They're looking for distractions.
Yes, and there's a big difference between healthy short-term distraction, which we use as a technique for managing anxiety, versus long-term avoidance. When we long-term avoid something, that's going to fuel the anxiety and make it bigger.
Oh boy.
So I know it's really, I know that's overwhelming, and at the same time, we have to remind parents, you know your kid, you are the expert, don't forget that. And also, there are people to help you. So get a consult, call a crisis line, talk to a mental health professional who can help you tease it out,
Yeah.
what's normal and what's something to be concerned about.
Like you, and you've just helped a lot of people. Jody Baumstein, so good to see you. Thank you so much.